Hello, this is Chukes, and you're here in my studio today featuring work from my latest collection titled Identity Theft. Identity Theft is a creation of work featuring more than 65 works of art, including paintings and sculpture. Stay tuned as we go through the work in detail in each episode. This piece is titled Royalty, A.K.A. the Dope Dealer. How it got its color, blue is very, the blue in here, it's one of my dominant colors in the majority of my work. I've tried to introduce other colors, but it just doesn't work. I just think instead of coloring or adding color to a piece to give it an identity of, say, the color of my skin, I chose to step away from that and give it its own color, give it its own identity. And so I'm not really concerned with skin tones. I'm just concerned with colors that I think are used to enhance particular bodies of work. Therefore, that's how this piece got its color. Well, I think the long neck is, it's a very prominent part of the African art experience. You always see the elongated neck and much art, great deal of art that comes from the continent of Africa. And just that ancestral instinct, for whatever reason, has gone into my work. It was more like a crown in some types of way, and yes, maybe something like a warriorship, but that brings into why I named it what I named it, because people were like, wow, you call this piece Royalty, A.K.A. the Dope Dealer. I had something happen to me that was very profound. I was riding through a very seedy part of town, and I was hungry, and I pulled over at this restaurant, and I'll never forget that this beautiful brother, this is beautiful. I mean, this brother was just beautiful. He walked up to me, and he had an elongated face. He had this beautiful stride and everything. And I'm walking to go into the restaurant, and I see these cats standing by the restaurant door, but I'm kind of oblivious to what was happening before I pulled my car in this particular place. And I was like, oh, once I start seeing him walk up to me, I get what's going on. So he walks up to me, doesn't say a word. He just holds his hand out, and there's these rocks of crack in it. He thought I was going to get some crack, And I'm like, it's not my thing, brother, And so he just pulled his hand away and just smoothly walked away. And I went and got my food. Nobody had bothered me when I went out to my car. But I never forgot that. And so when I was creating this piece right here, I remembered that brother because he was so beautiful. He was just a beautiful looking brother. And I'm like, man, you have wasted who you are. You wasted it. You're out here on the corner selling crack, man. I mean, damn, I'm like, you could have been royalty, but you're A.K.A. the dope dealer. You're royalty, A.K.A. the dope dealer. You threw your time, you wasted it and threw it away. And so for whatever reason, when this piece was being created, that whole ideal of what we could be as opposed to what we become became very important, in the process of creating. If you understand your history, okay, let me break it down to you like this, all right? When I was first taught history, or supposed history of who I am as a black person, and I'll talk about this from an academic point of view, from our schools. They told us that we came from slavery. We had no other history before slavery. Like, we were just, we were just the slave people that just popped up out of the ground, and we just popped up and started, picking tobacco or picking sugar cane or picking cotton, or, all of the things that supposedly gave America its greatness, built the economy. We were responsible for that. We were responsible for making America the great America that it's supposed to be. But history will not tell us that. They want to tell us how great the cotton gin was, but the cotton gin was worse than a whip because that kept us working. If you go back to who we were before this whole inception of slavery, which, by the way, is 0.5% of the 250,000 years of documented history of us, of the black man and woman, the beginning of creation, the first human beings. I'm not talking about 4 million years ago, because there was a time where we had to evolve before we became Homo sapiens, before we became today's humans. So in that time, that's when history started, which was around 200 or 300,000 years ago. We became the modern male and female. So I asked the question, who were we? What were we doing? So in that time, if you're going to teach somebody about history, why don't you teach what we were doing at that time? Up until the time the Spaniards, the Europeans, the Dutch, all the other warring nations came in and kidnapped us, ripped us from the motherland, and brought us to all the Americas and other parts of the world, European parts of the world too, and enslaved us. They got their history, they got their culture, they got their civilization from us. But history doesn't say anything. So this little piece right here, royalty, AKA the dope dealer, is like a microcosm of what slavery has done to us. This man could have been royalty. He was royalty. He was ripped from his continent, brought here to America. The mentality of ignorance got a hold of him and told him, hey, the way you're gonna make it is by selling your people crack that you're getting from another person that's actually pocketing all the money. You'll never be rich doing this, but you're gonna bring your people down. That is the importance of art. This little piece right here, AKA the dope dealer, royalty tells you what you could have been as opposed to what you have become. So you got to take a look at who you are, and take a look at the teachings, which is the worst thing you could do is tell a black kid that they came from slavery. Because when you tell a black child in school with other children in that classroom from all nationalities, because America's this great melting pot. And America, the historians, they knew exactly what they were doing when they decided how they were going to teach black history. So if you have a black child, 2 or 3 in a class, and then you have 20 other students from all parts of the world, and you decide, I'm going to teach a class on black history, and you started out with slavery, not only are you telling that black child that you came from slavery, you had no history before that, you came from slavery, you're telling all of the rest of those children that black people came from slavery as well. So you're perpetuating the ideal that we all came from slavery. If you were to tell those children who we were before we were enslaved, it would be an entirely different scenario. When you teach the European or American history, you don't teach from a one-sided point of view. You tell the entire story. Do that for us. Do that for us. If you don't do it for us, we'll have to do it for ourselves. That, once again, is the importance of this little piece. Royalty, A.K.A. the dope dealer. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more episodes from the Identity Theft Collection.